Hello guys, so continuing with the previous tutorial, I'm going to talk about now the async save and load system. And before starting, I'm going to delete the save file first, so we can start from fresh. And if I try to save now a big amount of actors, so in this case I'm going to save I'm going to try to save 5,000 actors. You see that I am spawning 5,000 actors now. So I'm going to save the game, and you can see a hiccup each time I save the game. And this happens because the amount of information is very big. So in this video I'm going to show you how you can implement a sync save system. So you won't have these hiccup issues in your game. So let's continue. Let's start with this autofill save game object. So instead of using this function, we are going to use the async version. So we have the async autofill save game object, and I'm going to move these nodes. Now I'm going to connect the same inputs to this function, and this is an async function, this doesn't complete instantly, but instead it uses delegates when it's completed. So for example, on progress you can drag the inputs and create a new custom event, and I'm going to call this event autofill progress. And now I'm going to drag on completed and call this event autofill completed. So while the function is processing, the autofill progress will be called many times, and you can use this autofill progress to fill the UI bar, for example, if you are using UMG. But for this example, I'm just going to print the value of the progress. So I'm going to connect this here. So I'm printing the values of the progress. It goes from 0 to 1, and you can actually use this to fill the UMG. And depending on your game, you might need to change this delay between operations value. For example, if I reduce the value, the game will not slow down when I save, as you see here, but of course it will take a little more time to save the game. Now we need to continue this logic, as we need to save the file to disk, and for that we need to use this event on completed. And so let's continue this logic. We have now the save game to slot, but of course we cannot connect this save game to slot directly from the function. We need to connect from the uncompleted event, because uncompleted is when the autofill save function has completed. I'm going to connect the save game object reference, and this reference is the same as the event. And instead of using save game into slot, we are going to use the async version. So let's call async save game to slot, and let's connect all the inputs and replace the function. And you can see here that this function only has one delegate event on completed, and I'm going to drag this event and create a new custom event. I'm going to call this on say completed, and yes, I'm going to continue the logic. When it's completed, I'm going to print game saved. Also, this function doesn't have the onProgress delegate because of how it works, but I don't think it is very necessary as the autofill function because it doesn't take too much time. And as you can see, this is the logic for saving the game. It is a little different from the sync way, but as you see, it is not very complicated. So I'm now going to make sure that there is no save file, and if I click play, and I'm going to spawn 5,000 actors, and you see that when I save the game, it shows me the message, and you can see that there is no hiccup. So I'm going to continue and make the same thing for the load part of the logic. So instead of load game from a slot, I'm going to use async load game from a slot. And the process is very similar from saving the game. I'm going to replace the function. And you can see that this function, when uncompleted, it has a message, use delay of 0. And this is very important because I don't know exactly why, but if you don't include the delay of 0 after this event, your game will crash. I am not sure why this happens because I'm not entirely sure why it's happening, but if I find the reason why, I'm going to fix this in a future update. But the solution is very simple. You need to add a delay of 0, which means that it's a delay of 1 frame. So this is very important, and I hope you will not have issues with this part. So let's continue with the logic. After loading the game from a slot, when the delegate uncompleted is called, so let's continue the logic. Now we need to auto load actors data from save. So let's use the async version of this function, and let's replace the inputs. You can see that this function also has the delay between operations that you can play with those values depending on your game. So I'm going to delete the previous function and connect this here. Also, I need to get the setGame object and connect the input here too. Okay, so this function autoload actor data from save. You can see that there are also two delegate events. I'm going to call this onload actor progress and onload actor completed, and you can use onload actor progress to fill your user interface, but in this case I'm just going to print the value. I'm just going to copy the function here. on load actor completed, I'm just going to print a message. Uh, when it's successful, I'm going to print game loaded. And this is the logic for loading the game. And you can also hear that I have this autoload actors data from save, which I'm going to replace with the async version. So I'm going to copy this and replace. So if I load the game now, you can see that the game slows down. Uh, if you want to avoid that, you can change the value of async autoload actors data from save. So depending on the value, it will take more time to load the game, but your game won't suffer from slowdowns. You can see that the game is being populated by the cubes. Also, for helping you visualizing how this is working, I have here the game running. I'm going to select the player controller to debug, and if I save the game, you can see how the flow is working. First, it is calling on progress, and when it finishes, it calls the autofill completed event. The same thing happens when I load the game. And I'm going to wrap up the video now, and let's continue in the next tutorial.